Viewers, the Trump's tariff war continues to heat up. Now, the US has said that China faces tariffs up to 245% on the imports of goods into the United States as a result of its retaliatory actions. Now, there is a sharp escalation that comes as Washington tightens its trade stance against China. Now, that is further straining an already fragile diplomatic and economic tie. Reacting to the tariff hike, China's foreign ministry reiterated that it seeks no confrontation whatsoever, but it will not remain silent in the face of US pressure. Remember, viewers, this tariff trade war is escalating as we speak. And now US has slapped a whopping 245% on China on its import of goods to United States. Viewers, we have foreign affairs expert Poornima Nath with us. Poornima, thank you for speaking to us. Do tell us now, how will the 245% tariffs on the Chinese good, how do you see it affecting the US business?
Thank you so much for it. First of all, I'll tell you that this turbulence around the tariff has been quite interesting. We haven't seen something like that forever. But I think from a political standpoint, if I have to say, obviously President Trump probably using tariff for political gain. Of course, in various conversations, President Trump also mentioned a few things. He particularly wants to make sure the U.S. Dollar dominance, he wants to make sure that retains. Also, from an economical and military perspective, he wants to make sure that the United States dominance stays. Now, if you look at certain kind of statistics, you see United States actually sells 43% of global arms, and the following one comes in the France, which is at 9.6%, and then China, Russia, and Germany. But those, if you add all of these, first 7 of them, it doesn't come to 50% or 43%, even what United States sells. So I think what President Trump is trying to do in this case, the back and forth, the tug of war that is happening in terms of tariff at this point of time, I think this is politically being used as a leverage. Obviously, President Trump's administration discussed about how dangerous China has become in terms of from a perspective of national security. Here, where China has been buying farmlands over here, IP. Obviously, there are lots of allegations in terms of how IPs are being stolen from America. And you have just seen earlier this year, China actually released DeepSeek, literally competing with the American AI, etc. So I think United States as a whole, not just China's issues, but from a national security issue, this has been quite a significant shift in terms of public outrage as well, that we don't want to see what we have seen in the inflation situation in our country in the last 4 years we have seen. But unfortunately, because of the tariff war, everything has been quite volatile right now. You have seen stock market reacting different ways in different days. We don't know what's going to happen. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty. But honestly speaking, the stock market or public really don't really react well in such kind of volatility. So we as an American, we are actually we're going to pay highest price for this. Our prices are not obviously going to go down, whether it's a milk price or egg price or bread price or a rice price or things like that, but energy cost as well. And then you saw China actually have stopped the rare earth export, and that is going to be impacting massively in terms of the electronic segment as well. But in this whole tariff game, recently, a couple of days ago, President Trump said the electronics sector, computers, laptops, and etc., the parts and as well are exempt from tariff war. So we understand from a perspective of building an industry, it takes some time. China didn't come to almost $20 trillion the economy in just 1 year or 2 years. It took 40 years to come over here. But from a perspective of India, if I have to look at it, I think India is sitting on a very sweet spot. Obviously, they're going to deal with China as well. Also, they're going to do business with America. And also in the ASEAN countries, whether some of the, for instance, Vietnam was slapped with 46% tariff. This is a small country with a negligible GDP as well as a population of 100 million and a lot of people to feed. And they actually don't make a whole lot of wages that America has. We have a minimum wage. The Democrats are going to take advantage of it and also start a war in America in terms of a minimum wage. Initially, it was $15 they're asking for. Now they're going to be asking for $20 to $25. So any manufacturing industry in this country, it's not going to be cheap unless there are some miracle that happens and we find materials over here and we literally shift and create manufacturing jobs within 1 or 2 years. That's not likely to happen from a perspective of how execution actually happens. And that's exactly why President Trump actually have retreated in terms of the electronics sector. And you will see some kind of negotiation will happen. And we obviously haven't seen President Xi calling President Trump yet. But I think, these things are going to cool down in the future. And even with India, when India is targeting 500 billion trade with the United States, that conversation is also going to happen probably somewhere around September, October. So I think this uncertainty will continue. We just have to be a little bit patient. But in this uncertainty, I think we, as an American consumer, we are going to actually get the short end of the stick as well.
Yes. Right, Poornima. Thank you so much for speaking to us. I think the lens is now on how these tariffs are going to affect us globally.